Guys, I'm Jim and this is J&R Woodworking, and I have got a lot of emails lately, and I just got another one last night about my Excalibur scroll saw. Mostly the questions were on the dust collection that I made for it. I've got a piece of plywood hanging in the background back here to try to cut off some of the clutter in the background so you can see what you're looking at a little easier than with all the stuff back there. Now, the dust collecting tubes are what they call Lockline company. Primarily they're used for coolant lines. That's what we use them for at work on the machines. These 2.5-inch lines are for vacuum, for sucking up chips or dust or whatever. That's why I bought them to put them on here. Now I'm going to give you part numbers, and I can't give you prices because my the book I got is from 2009, so the prices have went up a little bit, but they're not cheap, but they're worth having for what they do. It really sucks up a lot of dirt that you would be breathing if I didn't have them on here. So I want to show you how I built this box that I've got. That was one of the last viewers' questions, was explain to them about the diverter box that I made and how I made it. That is on the back. Now it's just, I used 1/2-inch Baltic birch, and I put dados in the sides, and I just cut a slot in the front, and this little piece of 1/4-inch Baltic birch slides in there as a damper. If you don't use that, because of the chute on the bottom, let me pull this out of here maybe. Has such a large opening on it. This is a 3.5 by 6 rectangular, I don't know what they call it, fitting I guess. And this one has a very small opening on it. Now if you just had this vacuum going into a box without this diverter, all your suction is going to go through this big hole, and hardly any is going to go through this. So that's why I built the box with this diverter in here. I can shut off most of the vacuum going to the big hose and keep a lot more of it going to the small opening. So you can kind of even out the vacuum going to both places. Now this was the original dust port they had on the machine. It screws to the bottom of the machine, the bottom of the table, and you hook the vacuum to it. But the problem with that, I don't know if you can see this table, let me move you. The problem with this original dust port, it put all the vacuum to these holes on the top of the table. You can see a hole pattern up here. Now I suppose if you didn't cover all these holes up, you were all right. But if you had a big board on here that you were cutting, I cut out a lot of puzzles, and 99% of the time all these holes are covered up. Well, what happens is if you take a vacuum hose and stick it against a flat board, you can pick that board up off the floor because of the vacuum. Well, that's what happens with this. This wasn't really thought out too clearly, I think, when they designed it. Because when you're cutting a board and you get in here and you cover up all these holes, you cannot move that board. To try to stay on your line to cut, it just don't work. So I got rid of that first thing, and I came up with this idea. Let me show you the rest of this saw. Now down below, I've got the vacuum tucked away in the back, and I have 2 foot pedals. One turns on the vacuum, one turns on the saw and the clock, which I'll explain that in a minute. Then if we go, I don't know if I can get you under here to see this. Let me move this again. Okay, now we're underneath the table. This is where the rectangular fitting just fits right up against the bottom of the table and as close to the saw blade as I can get it. And the top one, you can turn this down and set it, I set it almost on top of the board that I'm cutting. And once in a while I'll use this blower, but not very often. And it does an excellent job of sucking up all the dust that you're making. Once in a while, if you cut enough, you'll end up with a little bit of dust down here on the table, but it's nothing like it was before I started using this. Now let's go back to the diverter. Okay, when I step on the pedal, I can shut this saw off. It turns this clock on. And I use this clock strictly for pricing. When I start up a new puzzle or something I haven't made before, I gotta know how to charge for it. And I set both these hands at 12, and when I turn the saw on, the clock will start. And so as long as the saw is running, the clock's running. It's plugged into a switch that I have hooked to a power strip in the back. Now, try to find one of these clocks. Good luck. I found this one on eBay, I believe. They had two. I almost bought both of them, but I said, well, I'll buy one and see how long it lasts. But this is an electric analog clock. You cannot use a digital clock. You can't use a battery clock. It has to run on 110, so you can plug it in where the saw plugs into. And then it goes off and on with the saw. It works out good for me because when I'm cutting and something comes up, the phone rings, somebody's knocking at the door, I don't always remember to shut off the little stopwatches that the other guys use on their saws. So I don't have to worry about this. When I'm cutting, it's on. If somebody knocks and I walk away from the saw, the clock shuts off. Now on the back of the box, I cut a hole with a hole saw. I got an adjustable hole saw. And I just use one of these adapters you can buy to plug two vacuum hoses together. And it just plugs into that. I drilled a hole in the back of the box that this would just slip into, and I glued it in with some epoxy. The front of the box, let's see if I can turn this thing. I ordered what they call a 3-inch sheet metal duct adapter. Yeah, figured that one out. And I did the same thing. I cut a hole that this would just slip into and glued it in there. And then the hose snaps into this. Now here's another piece I have that goes on to a stand that I bought that I can put by the belt sander or the drill press, wherever I want a little extra vacuum for picking up dust. And this piece here is the one that's stuck into this adapter, and your hose just snaps into this, into the big end. So I just glued them in there with some more epoxy, and they stick quite well. Now, I guess I covered hopefully everything that these guys have been asking. Now, where you can buy this stuff, let me spin the camera around and show you my catalog. Okay, this company is called MSC Supply. We buy all our stuff for work, well, 90% of it from this company. They sell virtually everything. Drills, taps, any kind of components you need for a machine, testing equipment. It's amazing what they have in these catalogs. This one's an old catalog, but I can give you the part numbers of these parts that I have. This thing is called a rectangular nozzle. And that part number is 00387639. The other tapered oval nozzle, that's what they call that one. Let me see if I can find that. That number is 00387647. I'll write this down in the description below, so don't worry if you don't catch it. Now, the hoses I have on my machine are 2 foot long. You can buy it either a foot section or 2 foot sections. They're not cheap, but like I said, they really work good. And when you bend this to position it where you want it, it's not going to move unless you make it move. These things are very rigid and they work really well. The hose comes in either 1 or 2 foot sections. On my machine, I have 4 feet of it. Let me measure it to make sure. Sorry about that. Okay, I just measured mine. Each one of mine are 2 foot long. So you're going to need a total of 4 feet of hose and these 2 nozzles and 2 of the 3-inch sheet metal duct adapters. Let's see, that number is 00387662. Now I just called this place. They're open, I don't know if they're open 7 days a week or not. Monday through Saturday. I just called them. We have a business account, so we just call them up, tell them what you need. If you call them by closing, let's say they close at 11 p.m. Monday through Friday. If you call them before they close, you'll have your part the next day. Well, if you call them before UPS quits. We call them about 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the latest, and we'll have the parts at our door the next day in shipping. They're a great company to deal with. And all you got to do when you call is set up an account. It's totally free. And use a credit card, and they'll ship this stuff out the same day. I hope I've covered everything that you guys have asked about. We'll pop you back over here by the saw. I hope I've answered all the questions. If I haven't, send me an email and I'll go over it again. If you want to talk to me, send me an email. Don't write on the description below on the video, because then everybody will get your phone number. But if you want to talk to me, send me an email at jnrwoodworking2, that's the number 2, at gmail.com, and I'll call you back, provided you're in the United States. But if you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I do a lot of builds on snappers and other lawn equipment. Give me a thumbs up if you like the videos. If you don't, send me an email and tell me what you'd like me to change. My early videos, I used to video with the camera standing up, and a couple viewers called in and told me to lay the camera down, it'll be better. So I did, and they are. It's a better view on the screen. So let me know what you think. If you've, like I said, if you have any other answers or questions you need answers to, send me an email and I'll get back with you. And I guess that's about it. So until next time, keep your tools sharp, your shop dusty, mine sure is, and we'll talk to you soon. See you later.